You have been lied to every single time you pulled into that drive-thru. Every time you unwrapped that foil, every time you convinced yourself it was fine. The burger in your hand right now has a story the chain does not want you to know. I'll show you 13 chains, one honest ranking. By the end of this, you will never look at a fast food menu the same way again. Let's get into it. 13. Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake has been around since 1934, which means it has had nearly 90 years to perfect its burger program. Yet the chain today feels far removed from the quality its name promises. Its identity revolves around two words: steak burger and milkshake. The term steak burger suggests better cuts of beef and higher standards somewhere along the sourcing process. In reality, it mostly means the blend contains cuts technically associated with steak, without clear quality standards around sourcing, grading, or handling. The bigger issue is the chain's operational decline. In 2020, Steak and Shake closed hundreds of locations and shifted many remaining restaurants to self-service kiosks while reducing staffing levels. Multiple food safety analysts have raised concerns that these lean crews are insufficient for the volume of food being handled, and inspection records across locations reflect recurring problems. Temperature violations, sanitation failures, and cross-contamination risks are not isolated incidents. They are the predictable result of an operation stretched thin by aggressive cost-cutting measures that placed pressure on basic kitchen standards and food safety practices. The milkshakes, to be fair, remain genuinely good. But strong milkshakes cannot compensate for a weakened beef program and repeated operational concerns when stronger competitors exist across nearly every price range. Steak and Shake lands at 13 because 90 years of history and a promising name have been systematically hollowed out by financial decisions that prioritized cost reduction over the product quality and kitchen standards the brand was built on. If a chain that has been making burgers since 1934 can fall this far, wait until you see what the next one has been doing to its beef since nobody was watching. 12. Sonic Drive-In. Sonic is the chain that convinced an entire generation of Americans that eating in your car in a parking lot while a teenager on roller skates brings you food is not just acceptable but actually a lifestyle. The marketing is genuinely impressive. The beef program is considerably less so. Sonic operates over 3,500 locations across the United States, making it one of the largest burger chains in the country by location count. At that scale, the supply chain pressure is constant and flows in one direction: cheaper, faster, higher volume. The beef at Sonic reflects that pressure in ways that are visible the moment you unwrap the burger. Sonic uses a 100% pure beef patty, which is a phrase that sounds like a quality claim, but is actually the minimum legal threshold for calling something beef. 100% pure beef means no fillers, no binders, no extenders. It does not mean anything specific about the grade, the sourcing, the fat content, or the handling of that beef before it reaches the flat top in a Sonic location. The flat top itself is part of the problem. Sonic's cooking method, a griddle-based preparation that is shared with the breakfast menu, the chicken program, and everything else coming out of a Sonic kitchen, does not produce the kind of sear that makes a burger worth eating. The temperature across a shared griddle managing multiple products simultaneously is inconsistent in ways that matter for both flavor and food safety. The Sonic experience is also uniquely vulnerable to a specific quality failure that no other burger chain faces at the same scale. The drive-in delivery model means that every burger travels from the kitchen to the car on a tray carried by a car hop, introducing a holding time between cooking and eating that a counter service or drive-thru model does not. A burger that was mediocre when it left the kitchen has additional time to become worse before it reaches you. Sonic lands at 12 because the combination of volume-sourced beef, shared griddle cooking, and a delivery model that adds holding time to every order produces a burger that is consistently below what the cheerful marketing and the nostalgic format would have you expect. But here is the thing. The next chain on this list does not even have the excuse of a complicated delivery model. They just decided the beef did not matter, and they have been getting away with it ever since. If this is already making you rethink your drive-thru habits, hit the subscribe button right now. Every week we go this deep into the food, the chains, and the decisions being made in corporate boardrooms that end up on your plate. One click and you will never miss an investigation. 11. Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box is a chain that has never fully decided what it wants to be, and that identity crisis shows in its burger program. Its massive menu ranging from tacos and egg rolls to burgers, breakfast, milkshakes, and loaded fries creates a kitchen that cannot truly specialize in anything. When a kitchen tries to do everything, it rarely does any one thing exceptionally well. The beef is sourced through industrial supply chains with little public transparency around grade, sourcing, or antibiotic use. Burgers are cooked on a two-sided clamshell grill, built for speed and consistency rather than flavor, producing patties that meet technical standards but lack the texture and character of a proper griddle or flame grill. Jack in the Box's history also carries one of the most significant food safety incidents in fast food history. In 1993, an E. coli outbreak linked to undercooked beef patties killed 4 children and sickened more than 700 people across 4 states. The incident reshaped federal food safety regulations for ground beef and established stricter cooking temperature standards across the industry. The company made major operational changes after 1993, and today's operation is not the same one responsible for that outbreak. But that history places a permanent responsibility on the chain to maintain exceptional food safety standards. Current inspection records suggest that consistency still varies across parts of the franchise network. Jack in the Box lands at 11 because a sprawling menu, industrial beef sourcing, and an inspection record that is uneven across a chain with that specific history add up to a burger experience that does not justify the loyalty many customers extend to it. The next chain on this list is not carrying the weight of history. It is carrying the weight of a business model that was never designed around making a good burger in the first place. 10. Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen is beloved. The Blizzard is a genuine cultural institution. The dipped cone is summer. Nobody is here to argue with any of that. But Dairy Queen is on this list because Dairy Queen is primarily a dessert chain that also sells burgers. And the difference between a dessert chain that sells burgers and an actual burger chain is enormous and visible in every bite of a DQ Flamethrower or a mushroom Swiss that comes out of a Dairy Queen kitchen. The beef at Dairy Queen is sourced through the same industrial channels as the other chains in the lower half of this ranking, with no published antibiotic standards, no disclosed sourcing specifics, and no meaningful commitment to quality that goes beyond the minimum required to call the product a burger. The cooking method is a flat-top griddle, shared with the breakfast program and whatever else the kitchen is producing at any given moment during a service period. The fundamental problem with ordering a burger at Dairy Queen is not that the burger is catastrophically bad. It is that the burger is irredeemably mediocre in a context where the kitchen, the staffing, the training, and the sourcing decisions were all made primarily around the ice cream and frozen treat program that is the actual identity and revenue driver of the business. When the kitchen is optimized for blizzards and the burger is an afterthought, the burger tastes like an afterthought. Dairy Queen lands at 10 because the burgers are the culinary equivalent of a footnote in a very enjoyable book. Fine for what they are. Not worth choosing when actual burger chains exist at the same price point. The next chain proves that even when burgers are the only thing on the menu, getting it wrong is still entirely possible with enough corporate indifference. 9. Burger King. Burger King has been America's #2 burger chain for so long that being second place has become part of its identity, and that reality shows throughout its entire operation. Its flame grilling is real, and it remains one of the biggest quality advantages in fast food burgers. Flame-grilled beef creates a distinct flavor through direct contact between fire and fat, producing char, moisture retention, and a taste that clearly stands apart from standard griddle-cooked burgers. So why does Burger King rank at 9? Because flame grilling an average beef patty still results in an average burger. The chain relies on the same industrial sourcing model as many lower-ranked competitors, prioritizing scale and consistency over transparency and quality. There are few publicly emphasized sourcing standards, and the distance between the farm and the final product feels increasingly disconnected. Its inspection and operational consistency are also concerns. Since Burger King operates largely through franchisees, standards vary heavily between locations. A well-run restaurant can deliver a solid experience, while a poorly managed one can feel entirely different. Burger King lands at 9 because the flame grill is a genuine advantage that is being squandered on beef that does not deserve it. A better sourcing commitment would move this chain up this list significantly. Until that commitment exists, the flame is writing checks the beef cannot cash. The next chain on this list does not even have a flame grill to hide behind. 8. Whataburger. Whataburger is a Texas institution with a ferociously loyal regional following and a national footprint that has been growing since a private equity group acquired the chain in 2019. The acquisition is the story. Whataburger before 2019 was a family-owned, regionally focused chain whose identity was built around a genuinely specific and genuinely good burger. The patty was larger than the competition. The bun was specifically designed for the patty. The toppings were generous and fresh. The whole operation reflected the priorities of ownership that cared about the product, because the product was the business. Whataburger after 2019 is a private equity-owned chain, undergoing rapid national expansion, and the record of what private equity expansion does to food quality is consistent enough across industries to warrant serious attention here. The early reviews from customers who have been eating Whataburger for decades are documenting exactly the pattern you would expect. Portion sizes that have quietly decreased, ingredient quality that has shifted in ways that are individually subtle but cumulatively significant, and a consistency between locations that has declined as the franchise network has expanded faster than quality control infrastructure can keep pace with. The beef at Whataburger remains a step above the industrial minimum, and the larger patty format is still a genuine differentiator. But the trajectory is the concern. A chain moving from family ownership to private equity management has never, in the documented history of the fast food industry, moved in the direction of better sourcing and higher standards. It moves in the direction of cost efficiency and shareholder returns. Whataburger lands at 8 because it is still better than the chains below it. But the private equity acquisition has set it on a path that the chains above it on this list have so far avoided. Watch this one carefully. What it looks like in 3 years will tell you everything. The next chain on this ranking has already completed that journey and arrived somewhere interesting. 7. Wendy's founder Dave Thomas made one specific promise that separated Wendy's from every other burger chain in America: fresh, never frozen beef. That promise, maintained for decades and still technically in place today, is a meaningful quality differentiator in an industry where frozen beef is the universal standard. Fresh beef is a different product from frozen beef in ways that matter on the plate. Fresh beef retains moisture differently. It sears differently on the flat top. It has a texture and a flavor that frozen and thawed beef cannot fully replicate. The fresh beef commitment at Wendy's is the primary reason the chain's square patties have a texture and a flavor that the competition consistently struggles to match. The sourcing behind that fresh beef is less transparent than the freshness claim itself. Wendy's does not publish specific standards around grade, antibiotic use, or farm conditions. The fresh beef comes from industrial processors through supply chains that carry the same volume and cost pressures as the chains below Wendy's on this list. The inspection record at Wendy's locations is mixed. The franchise model produces the same variations seen at Burger King, with well-managed locations maintaining strong standards and poorly managed locations falling significantly short. Wendy's lands at 7 because the fresh beef commitment is real, meaningful, and worth acknowledging, and the square patty program delivers on that commitment more consistently than the chains below it. But the sourcing opacity keeps it out of the top half of this ranking. The next chain is going to surprise you because it has no business being this good at what it does. 6. Five Guys. Five Guys is the chain that should not work. No freezers in the restaurant. Peanut oil for everything. A menu so minimal it borders on aggressive. And yet here it is, firmly in the top half of this ranking, because the operational philosophy behind Five Guys produces outcomes that the more sophisticated, more heavily marketed chains below it consistently fail to achieve. The beef at Five Guys is fresh, never frozen, and ground daily. The sourcing standard goes beyond Wendy's fresh commitment in one specific way. Five Guys publishes its beef sourcing standard with more specificity than most chains at any price point, committing to domestic beef from suppliers meeting defined quality thresholds. The cooking method is a flat-top griddle, which is not inherently superior to flame grilling, but in the hands of a kitchen that is cooking nothing but burgers, fries, and hot dogs, the flat top produces consistent results because the staff operating it are not simultaneously managing a breakfast program, a chicken sandwich line, and a dessert station. The customization model at Five Guys, where toppings are free and generous and applied fresh, reflects a kitchen philosophy that treats the burger as a complete eating experience rather than a loss leader designed to pull customers toward higher margin items. Five Guys lands at 6 because the combination of fresh daily ground beef, a focused kitchen, and a sourcing standard that is more specific than the competition produces a burger that consistently delivers on its promise. The price is higher than the chains below it. The product justifies the price in ways that the chains below it do not. But the next chain on this list is doing something so specific with its beef that it has essentially created its own category. 5. Smashburger. Smashburger did not invent the smash technique, but it helped bring it into the national spotlight, and the technique itself is the reason these burgers taste so different. The process starts with a ball of fresh beef placed on an extremely hot flat top and smashed thin with heavy pressure. That intense surface contact creates a powerful Maillard reaction, producing a deep crust and rich caramelized flavor that thicker, conventionally cooked patties struggle to achieve. The result is a burger with an intensely savory texture and flavor profile that stands apart from standard fast food burgers. Smashburger uses fresh beef and applies the technique consistently across its locations, which is more difficult than it sounds. Proper smashing requires timing, pressure, and heat control that cannot simply be automated through standard griddle systems. It also requires trained cooks who understand the process, something many lower-ranked chains avoid investing in. Smashburger lands at 5 because the technique, fresh beef, and training investment combine to create a burger that is clearly superior to the industrial griddle output of the chains below it. The sourcing transparency could be stronger, which is what keeps it out of the top 4. But the next chain has sourcing transparency that makes Smashburger look positively secretive. 4. Shake Shack. Shake Shack entered the fast food landscape as a Madison Square Park hot dog cart in 2001 and has since become one of the most closely watched burger brands in America, not because of its marketing, but because of what its sourcing commitments say about what is possible in the fast food burger category. Shake Shack uses 100% all-natural, antibiotic-free Angus beef. That commitment is published, specific, and verifiable in a way that the sourcing standards of every chain below it on this list are not. Antibiotic-free means no antibiotics ever, not no antibiotics important to human medicine, not responsible antibiotic use, but no antibiotics, applied across the beef supply chain that feeds every Shake Shack location. The smash technique at Shake Shack is executed with the same attention to the Maillard reaction as Smashburger, but with beef that is meaningfully better at the sourcing level. The combination of a superior technique applied to a superior product produces a superior result. This is not a complicated equation. It is one that the chains at the bottom of this ranking have decided is too expensive to pursue. The inspection record at Shake Shack locations reflects a kitchen culture that takes food safety seriously at the operational level, with a consistency across locations that reflects a corporate management philosophy willing to invest in the standards required to maintain it. Shake Shack lands at 4 because published antibiotic-free sourcing, smash technique execution, and consistent kitchen standards together produce the best fast casual burger in America at this price point. The next chain on this list is doing something with its beef at the sourcing level that puts even Shake Shack's commitment in an interesting context. 3. In-N-Out Burger. In-N-Out is the chain that Californians treat like a religion and everyone else treats like a rumor, and the sourcing and operational standards behind the cult following are worth examining specifically rather than dismissively. In-N-Out grinds its beef fresh daily at company-owned facilities and delivers it to restaurants with a maximum shelf life that is shorter than almost any other chain in America. The vertical integration of the beef program, meaning In-N-Out, controls its own processing and distribution rather than outsourcing to industrial processors, gives the chain a level of direct accountability over the product that no chain relying on Tyson or JB's or Cargill can match. The menu at In-N-Out is famously minimal. 3 burger configurations: fries, shakes, and soft drinks. That minimalism is not a marketing choice. It is an operational philosophy that allows the kitchen, the supply chain, and the training program to be entirely optimized around a small number of products executed at the highest possible level. The inspection record at In-N-Out locations is among the strongest of any burger chain operating at scale in America. The combination of company-owned processing, daily fresh delivery, and a kitchen focused on a minimal menu produces food safety outcomes that franchised, industrially sourced chains consistently fail to achieve. In-N-Out lands at 3 because vertical integration of the beef supply, daily fresh grinding, a minimal menu, and a company-owned operational model together produce a burger and a food safety record that the industrial franchise chains below it cannot match. The reason it does not take the top spot involves geography and a specific commitment that the next 2 chains have made and In-N-Out has not. Trust us, you are going to want to know what that commitment is. 2. Culver's is the Midwestern chain much of the country has overlooked for years, despite having one of the strongest sourcing and preparation philosophies in fast food burgers. The chain uses fresh, never frozen beef sourced through direct farm relationships, creating shorter supply chains, stronger accountability, and a noticeably fresher product than the industrial sourcing systems used by many lower-ranked competitors. Its signature Whataburger features a fresh beef patty cooked to order on a flat top and served on a lightly buttered toasted bun. That buttered bun is not a gimmick. It creates a richer flavor and softer texture that reflects a broader attention to the overall eating experience, not just the patty itself. It is the kind of detail that separates top-tier burger chains from standard fast food operations. Culver's also maintains one of the strongest inspection records in the casual fast food category. The company's family-owned culture still shapes its operational standards, creating consistency driven by pride in the brand rather than basic corporate compliance requirements. Culver's lands at 2 because regional fresh beef sourcing, a family-owned management culture, a specific and intentional preparation method, and a strong inspection record together produce a burger experience that is genuinely excellent and almost entirely unrecognized outside the Midwest. The chain at number 1 has been producing the best burger in America for long enough that the evidence is simply impossible to argue with. 1. Shake Shack and Whataburger. Actually, let's be honest about number 1. The best burger being produced by a national chain in America right now is coming out of a specific type of operation that most people drive past without stopping. It is coming out of a kitchen that sources USDA prime or upper choice beef with published standards. It grinds fresh daily. It executes the smash technique or an equivalent high-heat sear with attention to the Maillard reaction. It maintains a minimal menu that allows the kitchen to be optimized around the burger rather than divided across a dozen product categories. And it maintains the kind of inspection record that reflects a food safety culture built into the identity of the business, rather than bolted on as a compliance requirement. The national chain that most completely and most consistently meets all of those criteria is In-N-Out for the West Coast, Culver's for the Midwest, and Shake Shack for the coasts and urban markets. But the single location-based operation that beats all of them, the benchmark against which every chain on this list is correctly measured, is the properly sourced, freshly ground, attentively cooked, simply dressed burger produced by an independent operator who has decided that the burger is worth caring about. Every chain on the best half of this list exists because someone at some point made that decision. Every chain on the worst half exists because someone at some point decided the marketing budget was more important than the beef budget. You now know which list is which. The national burger landscape is not complicated once you know what to look for. The chains at the bottom are selling you a photograph of a burger. The chains at the top are selling you an actual one. 13 chains. One honest ranking. Now you have the information the drive-thru menu was never going to give you. Drop in the comments right now which chain on this ranking surprised you the most. Worst half or best half. Every comment gets read and shapes what we investigate next. Also, hit the like button if this changes where you are pulling in. The next time a burger is on the agenda, click on the next video right now. We ranked every major chicken chain the same way, and the number 1 worst is going to make you put the bucket down.